Hey everybody, welcome back to Fix the Rust Bucket. We're continuing to work on our 2000 Chevy pickup. In two earlier videos, we've already removed and repaired the rack and pinion that's back in the truck. Now we have the rest of the front suspension to do, so we're going to go ahead and start with tearing everything down and getting parts cleaned up. All right, so we're starting off on the driver's side. We're going to remove everything. Here's the new rack and pinion. This is the inner tie rod. That'll be out of our way. We don't need to worry about that. I'm going to start with removing the caliper. To remove the caliper, we're going to have to hang it off the frame rail somewhere. So to get the brake line out from underneath, we're going to have to pull the ABS wire. Up here is a plug, and then just some clamps that hold it down. We'll get the ABS wire out of the way, remove the brake caliper bracket, and get the rotor off so we can start working on the upper lower control arm and also the knuckle. So for the starters, we'll come up here in the top, remove the ABS plug. Just get that out of our way for now. Done. Some rubber or plastic clamps with the rubber boots around them. And just twist them off, pull the wire out. With the plug out and the wire removed down to here, now the wire attaches to the brake line bracket attached to the spindle. So we're just going to go ahead and squeeze this plug and try and push it out of the way. So with that out of the way and off of the bracket, we can remove the bracket here from the knuckle, which is your brake line bracket, and also where it attaches to the upper control arm up here. We're just going to set those two bolts off to the side right now. Try and get these knocked off. They are corroded and covered in a lot of rust. Same thing with the bracket up here on the top. Actually came off pretty easy. Now with your brake line freed up, it attaches right here on your caliper and also attaches to the hard line right here on the frame rail. I'm going to disconnect the caliper, and then we're going to hang the caliper somewhere from this frame rail, get it out of our way, but not disconnect it just yet. The brake lines are looking pretty bad, so I'm going to just go ahead and order new ones. I don't have them right now, but we're going to order a new brake line, which will start from this bracket here down to the caliper. So we'll move on to removing the caliper. So with the 2 caliper bolts out and the caliper's loose, I'm gonna go get myself some, I got them right here. Got some cable ties. And we're just gonna find somewhere to tie it to over here out of our way to continue working on everything. Loosen up the caliper here. Get a pry bar. Just pry up on the caliper a little bit against the caliper bracket and work it off of it. Slowly coming off. There we go. So with that loose, take a cable tie. We're going to go through one of the bolt holes, make a loop. And I have up here on the front, off the front cross member, some cable ties, and we're gonna hang it. The hose is long enough so we can get it all the way up there and out of our way. We'll leave that hanging until we come back to reassemble. Caliper gone. Look at the brake pads, which we're not going to reuse anyway. I'm going to get new ones. We're going to go ahead and pull the caliper bracket off. These 2 bolts right here. We'll go back before we put everything back together, and we're going to clean up all the crud and rust on all of the mounting hardware. If anything looks remotely cross-threaded or messed up, I'm just going to go ahead and get new stuff. Again, put the caliper bracket off to the side. We can go ahead now and just pull the rotor, remove the rotor. With that removed, we can now get to our hub, which is this part here with the studs, the plate, and the hub right here. The hub is held on with 3 bolts on the back side. Most, I believe all hubs on cars are pretty much all like 3 bolts on the back side, just different sizes. This is a 2-wheel drive truck, so it doesn't have any axles on the front, so there's no hub nuts in any way, shape, or form. It's not a 4-wheel drive, so we don't have to remove that. So once we remove the 3 bolts on the back, I can already tell it's going to be rusted inside of this knuckle, and we're going to have to probably beat on it pretty hard to get it to come free. Everything on these so far is lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, so continue going left. That wasn't too bad. Switch over to the other side. It's a little tight to get to this top one, the ball joint bolt. comes down on it, so it's okay. Just knock it in there a little bit and break it free. Last one here on the bottom. All right, they're all freed up. We'll go ahead and work on pulling the hub bolts off. Now, I'm not looking for perfection on this truck. I am looking to make sure it's safe and the parts are good, but it is going to be a work truck. It's going to be used for car parts, other stuff, hauling things. So as long as the hardware is good and the parts themselves are good, we'll just clean them up and repaint them. If they look remotely damaged or any kind of damage to them, we'll replace them. Hubs are going to be new. And so far, from what I can see, the knuckle, upper control arm, and lower control arm and spring are going to stay. Those two removed. Come over here and remove the spline on the back side. Now we'll go get our hammer and we'll try and in between, you can't see it here because of the plate, but right about here, you'll see where the knuckle and the hub assembly meet together. I'm going to try and knock something in there and start breaking that free. Seems like it's starting to come apart. Kind of expected this with the amount of rust I'm seeing on it, and surprisingly it's coming off easier than I thought it was going to. Looks like we might have it completely loose. Yep. Hub is garbage. We have new ones. Tuck that over there. The plate, backing plate here doesn't seem too bad. So we'll just clean that up and repaint it. So that's our brake caliper, caliper bracket, and the hub gone. So now we can work on removing the knuckle, which is the upper ball joint here buried in all this grease and dirt. The lower ball joint right here as well. Pull the knuckle off and then get into the spring, the shock, and the control arms. We're going to remove the bottom nut on the bottom ball joint first on the lower control arm. Then we'll go and work on the top one up here. So we have new ball joints, and put this over on this side. We'll be getting rid of that. Let's get up to the upper ball joint, remove that nut as well. All right. Also not on very tight or rusted on there, so it's good. Again, new ball joints for the top control arm. So with those removed, we'll go ahead and try and separate the knuckle from the upper and lower control arm. Get that out of the way. All right, so I just realized my audio was off the whole time, what I was just doing on the lower control arm, trying to get that ball joint out of there, out of the knuckle. It will not come off. Right now it won't come off with the pickle fork. You can probably see in the video, I went from a little 3-pound sledgehammer to a 5-pound sledgehammer, and it's just not coming out. I don't want to heat it up with heat in the garage because of the grease on both of them, and I don't need to set the truck on fire inside this garage. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and drop the lower control arm, dropping the spring out, undo the shock here, drop the spring out and everything else. We'll get the lower control arm and the knuckle out together. So I don't want to damage the knuckle. So we'll leave that as is, and we'll start working on removing the control arms. We'll start here on the upper control arm. Remove the bolts that go through the bushing and the mounting brackets on the frame and the control arm. That side removed. We'll work on the other side here. Brake line mounting bracket to the frame is in the way to get a socket on there. I don't have a short socket, so we're just going to go ahead and use a crescent wrench to loosen this up and get it off of there. So with those two nuts removed, the spring and shock tower has holes cut inside there to knock these bolts through, releasing the upper control arm there. I'm going to try and save these bolts so we don't want to damage them. I'm going to put the nut back on there. Try and give it some taps, knock it free. Real easy on that one. Same thing we'll do on the back side here. Give it a tap. Both of them came loose nice and easy. Remove the nuts again. And work on getting the bolts out. Alright, so that's freed out. Pull it out of here. We can go ahead and start working on removing the upper controller. It's ready to go. We'll press out both bushings before we clean it up. And also we'll remove the old ball joint here. So we'll stick that off to the side. So with the upper control arm out, we're going to go ahead and remove the shock. There's 2 bolts on the bottom that bolt to the lower control arm, and then there's 1 nut on top up here of the shock. I sprayed it earlier today with PB Blast, and it is not going to come free. It is jammed on there. So more than likely we'll be cutting that off as well. And maybe not, we'll see. All right, so with that cut off, I don't suggest doing it the way I just did it, but with that cut off, now we can go ahead and remove the lower control arm and knuckle and separate those two outside of here. Get our two breaker bars. Not sure how hard these are going to be on here since everything else is either rusted on or seized on and has been on here for 23 years. We'll get them broken free and then use the ratchets to finish getting them off. So, that one wasn't too bad. And neither was that one. Basically knocking them loose, and you'll be able to pull them out the other way. Take the nuts off. Get your washers out of there. And we can go ahead and just remove and drop the lower controller. So that is everything in this area that we're going to take apart, except for the knuckle, which we're going to have to go outside, try and press it out. And if that doesn't work, then we're going to have to go outside, heat it up. We'll come back after we get the other side torn apart and we're ready to reassemble everything. We're going to come back, clean these areas up, get the crud out of there, any rust out of there, hit it a little bit with some paint, and then we can go ahead and start reassembling everything.